It's 5:45. I'd like to call the public meeting to order. Please call the roll.
McCaig, Wertz,
Here.
Johnson,
Here.
Rust,
Here.
Trent, Griffin, Ware,
Here.
Campbell.
Now is the time for public comment about the proposed fiscal year 2024 budget. Do we have anybody wishing to address the board? Format is everybody's given 3 minutes to address. Do we have anyone wanting to address the board?
Is anyone online? Nope.
One at a time. There being no further business, oh, wait a minute. Being no further business, do I have a motion to adjourn the public hearing? Any discussion? Being the first, a motion?
I move we adjourn.
Second? Any discussion? Good question, though.
We have to wait to start the next meeting. I'm sorry. We have to wait to start the 6 o'clock meeting. We don't have to wait from 5:45 to 6.
That's a good question.
Did anyone bring snacks?
Call for the vote, please. Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Yes.
Yes. Motion approved. It's 6 o'clock. I'd like to call the meeting to order. Please call the roll.
McCaig, Wertz,
Here.
Johnson,
Here.
Rust, Trent, Griffin,
Here.
Ware,
Here.
Campbell.
Here. Please, let's do the Pledge of Allegiance, please. Now the time for public comment. Do we have any wishing to address the board? The format of the board is everyone's given 3 minutes to address the board. Any no comments? We'll move on.
Can we get an enrollment update from Dr. Jackson?
I like that introduction. Good evening. So I have our 10th day summer enrollment report. So for summer 2023, we landed at 1,001 students for the summer semester. That is a 12.1% increase from last year. And for fall, we are starting to track our fall enrollment as well. We have our Summerfest event coming up on Thursday from 4 p.m. to 6 p.m. It is a community event. However, we also have the option for our community members and future students to not only register but get additional information about Lewis and Clark and our programs. So we welcome everyone to come out, bring your families. It will be a good time. For our fall 2023 enrollment, right now, total head count is 1,830. That is a difference of an increase of 8.93% from last year. So we continue to, of course, enroll for fall. We are hosting events. We're looking at open houses. We're also working on a calendar to send out for everyone so everyone will know in advance events and community opportunities as well to get the Lewis and Clark name out in the community.
To what do you attribute the increase in enrollment? Do you know from feedback from the students, or can you tell based on the demographic or makeup of the population that came back?
Looking at the information, I really think it's people actually coming back out now, coming back to campus. I think the pandemic, we're starting to kind of see it slow down. I think people are now interested in changing careers. We've seen an uptick in our high school enrollment as well. Those students now, we have our high school liaisons in the high school, being able to meet with those students, giving them additional information. I think that hands-on touch for them to be able to just go directly to someone and talk to them, I think that's extremely helpful as well.
Is it mainly traditional students that, are up, or is it all across the board?
It's across the board, but I think the highest that we're seeing the increase right now for summer, it was definitely those students that were graduated early, those seniors, and then they were coming to get their education started with those summer courses. And then for fall, the latest information, it's those non-traditional students, so.
Can you tell if it's more online or more on campus, or can you tell that?
Right now, the information, it looks like it's going to be more online actually right now. So a lot of students are taking those blended courses just to try it out at first, and then they're moving to those online courses, so.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Dr. Traska, are you going to provide us a budget?
Yeah, so I guess I'll start by saying, well, the budget hopefully is approved today, and we'll begin a new fiscal year. And I just want to thank, my summary this time is just to thank the team again for ending this fiscal year 23 on a positive note, being mindful and responsible with budget, and continuing to help move Lewis and Clark forward in good ways. We look forward to this next fiscal year and continuing to make meaningful and relevant investments into this work to serve our students. So that really concludes my update this time. And next month, of course, I'll start to provide updates that sort of track our revenue and expenses as we move forward through this fiscal year. Thank you.
The omnibus agenda.
The omnibus agenda is presented for a vote. Is there any item the board would like to be held out and vote separately?
I, which is bid information, and N,
I and N, as in Nora?
personnel, yeah.
Okay.
I'd like to consider item 5B bills, and 5B treasurer's report, and 5J contracts.
Could you go with again 5E, 5J?
5D is the dog bills, 5E treasurer's report. Julie's holding out 5I bid, and I'd like to work out 5J contracts.
This is 5D, 5E, 5I, and 5J? And N? Okay. I'd like to have a motion to, on this agenda for a motion, excluding 5D, 5E, 5J, 5N.
Yeah, I'll make that motion to do it with excluding those that you listed.
Second? Second. All in favor? Or call the roll, please.
Johnson,
Yes.
Trent, Griffin,
Yes.
Ware,
Yes.
Campbell, Wertz,
Yes.
Rust.
Yes.
Under
The motion on 5D, is that the first one? Motion for 5D? Do you have a motion?
I'll make motion.
Second?
Second.
Discussion?
I just have one item I'd like to hear a little bit more about. This would be on, actually on page 11. It has where it says Universal Security, Universal Protection Service. I noticed that we're still spending a significant amount at N.O. Nelson for security. looks like about $15,000 a month, as compared to the Scott Bibb, we're spending about $9,000 a month, I believe. And I guess my question is, I know that in the back of my mind, we were going to be looking at the security costs, and we have a bit, and it still puzzles me why we even have security at N.O. Nelson. It's in the middle of town, surrounded by a nice area. There's a very competent Edwardsville Police Department there. There are other types of operations that don't have any security program. Why do we need one? And I'm not saying we don't need one, but I'd like to hear why.
I could start. I know we've reduced that cost. We looked at this, I want to say the last couple of years, and I know we reduced a couple of positions, refocused a position. I think that the contract that we have provides us with that opportunity to cover all of our campuses. I mean, essentially, it's a liability thing. I know we moved, and I mean, Brad, if you're here, if you want to chime in, I know we've moved not 100% away from 24/7, but we're trying to schedule in ways that are as efficient as possible. I mean, I don't know if that answers the question, but I mean, I'll let you, you all know Brad, who's our director, but we did quite a bit of reformulating last year, and I forget the exact number, but it was a significant savings, and I'll let you chime in, so.
Yeah, thanks. Again, Brad Race, Director of Campus Safety. To address that question, so at our N.O. Nelson campus, we have minimized the hours. With this new contract, we actually eliminated a position. It was eliminated by attrition, so it worked out well. We were able to readjust. So we're not there near as often. There's definitely still a need to have campus safety out there as we have students present and as we have events that take place on our campus that can cause property damage, as well as we have weddings out there with, with events that bring in a large number of our public. We have had issues out there which lead us to want to have campus safety out there. We've had some theft issues, and without our campus safety being present and the camera system that was out there, we would have not been able to produce that to our good Edwardsville Police Department, who found the individual and we were able to prosecute. So it doesn't matter where you're at in whatever neighborhood. There's going to be a potential of possible crime, and I think we owe it to our students and our visitors to provide that security.
Did you mention like weddings and things at the prayer room?
Yeah, correct.
So when we have events like that, we provide a security person there?
Depends on the event and the amount of people that are there. We there are times based on the event we charge that security back to that person who's has the contract. If it's a small event, whether it be something that Lewis and Clark is holding itself, then we feel the need to provide that security within our standard operating hours. We also have the Fab Lab there, which presents a medical concern and just the theft of all that equipment out there as well. So it's just yet another reason to have campus safety present.
I think that probably represents about, what, 2 people or 3?
I mean, I don't know how many people, but I know when that's open, we are present.
Yeah, there.
$80,000 a year, it's $15,000 a month. If it was that much of a month, I don't know.
But I mean, we're also, majority of that, I mean, we're not there 24/7. We're not there on Sundays. We're not, we've limited that staff.
We've limited that, yeah.
A lot of our time there is going to be weekday. I mean, we have our College for Life program out there that also presents a reason to have campus safety out there for a slew of reasons.
And like on rentals, like Brad said, we charge that back typically if it's a large event. And we've reduced, I don't know the percentage, but we've reduced quite a bit, because I know this came up the last couple of years. So the elimination through attrition used to be 24/7, now we're not. I know we moved that.
Yeah, we went from 24/7
yeah.
to, really not even 7 days a week. We're minimizing that coverage, but we're making sure that we have the coverage when we need it there.
And also, I think, the discussion that we've had in the past is just the investment is required, and, the compensation is what it is as well. That also increases. So being able to find good officers that are obviously consistent and committed are also a big part of this, so, yeah. Thanks, Brad.
Yeah. Any other questions? Okay, thank you.
Call for the vote.
Which item?
Johnson,
Yeah, yes.
Griffin,
Yes.
Ware,
Yes.
Campbell,
Yes.
Wertz,
Yes?
Rust,
Yes.
Trent.
I have a new motion for 5E.
I'll make the motion for 5E.
Second?
I'll second.
Discussion?
Yeah, this won't take very long. I was just noticed that there's no market value adjustment, and I wondered why that would be.
Mary, you want, yeah, she'll come up. That's a good point.
We didn't have all the statements at the time of printing this to prepare the market value adjustment for fiscal year '23 for June 30th. And I had reversed what we had placed the prior quarter already. So I left it at 0, and those will fall in next month for next month's report.
I thought we don't calculate that every month. I thought we calculated like once a quarter, but then we just
Every
use
quarter.
that number.
Correct. Every
So why
quarter.
didn't we just use the number we had from last month? Or
I could have, but it was the quarter before, and I had reversed that quarter in June in preparation for year end. I mean, we can pencil that in, but it doesn't change the value, the general ledger value.
Right.
It'll be
Okay.
there for the end of the year statements.
I did have one other, comment. I guess it's a question, really. I noticed that we're entering into some investments that have like a 3-year maturity, and we're entering into those investments at like 3% or a little more, and we're getting 5% on short-term investments. Why are we doing that?
This in the,
This is 51. Or, I'm sorry, 57. Mary.
say in the core accounts, it looks like we're investing at 4%. I mean, in the long-term investments in the core accounts and in the account that we have at Busey for the main complex match, those are a long-term strategy of laddering the maturities over time.
So I guess there's some assumption that the interest rates are going to
Right.
decline enough below that 3%, so you're locking in the 3%?
That's what I would think that our investment managers, that's their approach. I mean, they're looking at the big picture. I don't question their decisions on that.
Okay.
Call for the vote.
Good question, thanks.
Griffin,
Yes.
Johnson,
Yes.
Rust, Trent, Ware,
Yes.
Campbell,
Yes.
Wertz.
Yes. Next one's 5I. Have a motion for 5I?
Second.
Discussion?
I just want to talk about the charter bus bid. We probably did this in prior years, but I don't remember it. I thought it was a big number, and we ought to discuss it and maybe just say for the public how that is going to be covered, if it's all covered, or is
Yep.
that, do we have to eat a portion of that? How does that work?
That's the athletic budget and the tort liability fund, that's where it's split from. So we have a student activity fee, and that's a source of revenue for athletics. Yeah, so that's how it's covered.
And it is covered, or is
Yeah.
part of it covered, or is it?
No, it's covered. It's, Mary, if you want to chime in, but yeah, it's covered. Yeah.
So in
Could
your.
someone explain what
So
they
it's
mean by
built into,
covered?
Well, I mean, like
well, I mean,
in
we
the
build the
athletics
budget. Right.
Our student fees don't come anywhere near covering athletic cost.
But that's part of where some of the revenue from student fees come in to support the cost of those buses.
Right.
The remainder of the athletic budget is supported by the operating funds.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it's just irrelevant, really, to talk about what's covered. Not much is covered.
Well, as
Do
we
you know
build the
what
budget,
percent?
yeah.
Like, what percent of the budget is covered by fees?
No, but it's back there on the chair.
I mean,
The
like,
exact
It's
percent.
in our,
half,
it's in our budget.
half, 75%, 25%?
I'm not going to begin to guess.
Yeah, I wouldn't,
Oh, it's,
It seems to be an important
Less
issue of whether,
half.
you know, I guess our operating costs is the whole athletic program, most of the athletic program, or, you know. I
Our
don't know.
budget includes a transfer to the athletic program. It's in the budget documents.
yeah.
Call for the vote, please.
no, I've got one, I have one more question, or, yeah, question. Was looking at the bids for the audit, and of course, it's no surprise, we only got one bid. And I guess my question is, was it worth squandering $5,000 of the taxpayers' money just to punish Whipley for no real reason? I withdraw that question, you don't have to answer it.
Call for the vote, please.
Trent? Griffin?
Yes.
Ware?
Yes.
Campbell?
Yes.
Wertz?
Yes.
Johnson?
Yes.
Rust?
Yes,
I motion for IJ. You have a motion? What's that? J.
I'll move.
Second? Discussion?
yeah, on the first page, probably just a typo, but I think under tennis, we have men's tennis and men's tennis again. Shouldn't one of those be women's tennis?
Yes. Thank you.
Okay. Now, my real question is on Spectrum. It's a substantial contract, 5-year contract. I have several questions around that. Let's just start with the first one being at the Lincoln School. My understanding is that are you Ron?
Yes, this
Oh,
is
good.
Ron.
I'm
Ron's
so
gonna-
glad
yeah,
you're here.
yeah.
Okay. First of all, at the Lincoln School, my understanding was that we no longer needed to have any internet service there because the school, District 7, is furnishing their own service.
Well, I'm not aware actually of them supplying their own service, but there is actually no internet service at that school. There's what's called an EP LAN, which allows communications of all those systems to communicate with everything else, including the campus here.
Why do we need that?
Any of the computers that log into the domain have to get back to the main servers here. Cameras, anything like that that needs to connect to systems here at campus goes across that EP LAN.
But I don't understand why we need that. We don't do anything there.
Well, we still own the building, so.
So
I mean,
what?
Yeah, yeah.
So what? We don't have any activities on it there.
Well, I mean,
Why
we-
spend
we-
$800 a month for it. Plus, on top of that, we're getting 1 gigabyte per second. I mean, it's not that expensive, it's $800 a month. Or at least, I think it's outrageous, but anyway, 1 gigabyte per second. Why would we need a service that fast?
Well, so the Lincoln School,
Yeah.
that one's 100 meg though, so I'm not sure. That one's only 100 meg, not 1 gig.
Well, the contract says 1 gig.
The 1 gig should be for the connection between here and NGREC and the connection to NO Nelson. I'll have to check the contract if that's,
No, N.O. Nelson's 200
well,
meg.
see, there's two different services at NO Nelson. So there's the internet service, which is 200 meg, and then the EP LAN, which is 1 gig. The EP LAN allows the communications back to campus, like I said before, so that's the cameras, phones, things like that. And then the internet service is just for getting out to the internet.
And we do still have security at like manage
Yeah, I don't
access.
have any.
Right, and it's, HVAC systems, things like that, that phone's home to systems here as well.
Yeah, but, I mean, I was really questioning, Nelson, I was questioning the Lincoln School. I don't understand why we're,
Well, I mean, we have security there, right? We have cameras, no? Do we have
Right.
anything there? Or we have the key? But the key, yeah, fire
Yeah,
alarm,
fire
key
alarms,
code.
yeah.
So, I guess it's I mean, you're arguing sort of the cost benefit of it in terms of, I
We
mean, we
need
still
to-
own the building, so for us, maintaining that investment. Now, that's not, that investment, though, is part of kind of our total contract. So if we remove some of that out of that, does that affect the bottom line of the contract at all?
I'm not sure.
I know we've
I
reduced
can
it,
communicate with
though.
them and see. So this all came up because a lot of our contracts were expired with Charter, so I took the opportunity to negotiate with them new services. And so what we ended up with was increasing the bandwidth here at the campus, doubling it, quadrupling it at Nelson. We increased the speed of the EP LAN to NGREC to 1 gig from 100, and then the same thing for the EP LAN to Nelson. And then at the same time, it reduced the monthly cost. It was previously $10,300 a month, and it reduced it to $7,788 for a total savings of $150,720 over the life of the contract. That's versus what we had previously, and that was after increasing the services.
yeah, the overall contract.
Right.
But,
Over 5 years.
specifically at the Lincoln School, I don't know what was there a cost reduction there?
Lincoln School.
overall.
let me check.
And you're saying we can't reduce it to zero because of the security?
Well, I mean, I
Yeah.
would say that's one factor, and the fact that we still own it, and it's part of the total renegotiation of the contract, which saves us, what, about 150 over 5
Yeah,
years?
yeah.
Dr. Trask, can you hear me? Sorry.
Yeah, who's that?
This is Lori.
Hey, Lori.
We also have our building automation controls there, as well as all of our fire alarm notifiers have to be connected to the internet and the phones, as Ron has mentioned.
Yeah, we mentioned that, yeah, of course, yeah. So fire, we do have some security. I mean,
All of
I
our.
mean,
HR
so if we don't have any of that, then the liability would go up. Right. We're linked in, yeah.
Hard for me to believe that all the businesses are paying $800 a month for internet service just so they can have fire alarms. I don't know either, but it's just hard for me to believe that that would be the case.
Well, and also keep in mind, that is for the EP LAN service. So I know it can be kind of confusing, but that one is an EP LAN service, not internet service. So the ones that have the EP LAN come back to us to pull internet from the main campus, except for Nelson because it has its own connection. So the price is a little bit higher for that. So if you had 1 gig internet service, it'll be cheaper than $800 a month, but this is an EP LAN service, so it runs a little bit higher.
Now, are we not going to use Charter or Spectrum rather for our telephone service there?
The telephone service comes back to main campus because we have our own PBX here, so that goes through that EP LAN as well.
It's telephone service?
Yes.
Which we should not even have at Lincoln School. Why would we have phone service? Matter of fact, I think it seemed to me like somebody told me that we had to have phone service for the security system.
Well,
So
I mean,
why-
It's for the fire panels.
Fire pins. You said that again, Lori? Yeah.
It's for all the notification from our HVAC systems, as well as our fire panels.
And we are generating revenue at the Lincoln School now, and that was restructured, and District 7 is covering their own, I think it's their Wi-Fi now. We took that out of our contract, so I think we netted, and I'm ballparking it around $16,000 extra a year that we're not paying out. So, we're trying to be as efficient as we can without creating more vulnerability for the institution. So I'm not sure what else we could. Plus, I think Ron and his team did a great job of renegotiating the contract, reducing it monthly, the monthly cost, and then, of course, having a five-year agreement, so.
Yeah, and I'd also like to add that in the past, even though we had a contract with Charter, we've had buildings that closed up at Paisaw Harbor, I think it was, and ended up getting hit by a tornado. They removed it and did not change the cost, and they just removed that. So if the decision was made that we should not have it there in the future, I think there's a probably good chance that they would remove it, and it wouldn't affect, they would just remove the cost from that.
Are any, what sort of escape clauses do we have on this contract?
I don't have it right in front of me right now. But
I mean, like, for example, let's say we closed some location, closed Jerseyville. Can we discontinue that service up there?
yeah, so like I said, I don't have it in front of me. I can't call exactly what it is, but we have done that in the past.
We haven't had that in the past?
We was able to get out of, yes, we was under contract and we was able to get out of services for buildings before.
Well, that's not what I was told before by getting out of the Manny Jackson or Lincoln School contract. I was said, well, no, it's locked in, we can't do anything.
Yeah, I'm not sure about that, but.
Yeah. Okay. So all of the locations are tied together? And when I say tied together, they're all feeding into the main campus here, so to speak?
Correct, yeah.
So is that why the cost is so high? I mean, paying $450 a month at Airline Drive just to have them tied into the system, is that really sensible?
Yes, because, and that is why the cost is higher, but that's needed because all those systems, like I said, all those systems phone home for all kinds of things. Those computers have to be connected to our core network in some way, shape, or form. If we didn't have that, then either we'd have to build another system out there to maintain those items. We'd have to figure out some way to get communications back to campus for other things, cameras, phones, because all the phones come back to main campus as well. Fire panels, things like that, HVAC systems. Somehow that communication needs to get back to campus.
Okay, just I think one last question or inquiry here. I noticed like East Alton, like I said, is $450 a month, but Shipman, and that's for 800 megabytes, but like Carlinville is $825 a month, almost double.
Mm-hmm. So some of that is because so originally, and this is actually where we ended up saving a lot of money because Charter doesn't have their own fiber to all the locations. Sometimes they have to lease it from third parties, and thus the price goes up. It could be based on length, who knows, usage, I'm not sure, but that's, different locations, they charge different amounts.
Okay.
I'd like to call for a
Thank you.
vote.
All right, thank you.
Thank you, Ron.
Ware,
Yes.
Campbell. Yes. Wertz,
Yes.
Johnson,
Yes.
Rust,
Yes.
Trent. Yes. Griffin.
Yes.
I think your next one was 5N, was it, Julie? Motion to approve 5N. Second. Discussion?
I just was struck by the number of full-time members on overload. And we talked about overload a lot related to the last faculty contract. So I was just wondering if we could have some discussion as to why we have so many full-time members on overload, which is probably typical for the summer, but I just need to hear it again so I understand what's going on.
Yeah, absolutely, and Sue could chime in too, but I'll start. Our overload rate is the same as our adjunct rate, okay? So that's kind of a wash. So we are teaching courses over the summer. We heard earlier our enrollment is up this summer, so we have more sections, more opportunities. So we just have full-time faculty members who are teaching over the summer that would get paid that overload rate. And I have to say, overload's probably not the best way to frame it. It's just they're teaching in a summer assignment.
It's beyond their contract.
Right, but it's beyond their...
Yeah, anything outside of fall and spring
Right.
is overload.
And they have that option to teach. So go ahead, Sue. You can.
Yeah,
Is the contract always structured that way? So if they
it's
teach
always been that way.
They teach in
Yeah.
the summer, do you have to pay them extra?
Yeah, yep, their base salary covers 15 contact hours in the fall and 15 in the spring. Anything they teach beyond that, fall, spring, or summer is overload.
Does that change with is it TEM?
Yeah, it was-
What's the correct
Yep, TEM.
acronym?
TEM.
Does that change if a faculty member is on that?
If a faculty is part of TEM, they may use some of those 15 hours to do a different project than to teach.
But you would still have to pay them the adjunct rate in the summer if they taught a
Right.
class.
Yep,
So that doesn't go
absolutely.
away.
That
with
doesn't go away.
With the TEM model.
Nope, that stays the
Well,
same.
But if a faculty member is short, like hypothetically doesn't make load,
Yeah.
then summer
Yeah.
could count toward that 30 credits. And that's where it wouldn't be extra pay. It would be like, listen, we need to extend your contract through summer to make up for the 3 or 6 or
Right,
9 or
and then
whatever
it
may
wouldn't
be.
be paid, right,
Right.
then it
Is
could
that
count.
with the TEM model
Yep.
only?
Right, yeah.
Yep, because usually summer can't count against those 30 hours.
Okay. And so this is basically a list of all the classes that are being offered this summer, right?
That are being taught by full-time faculty.
Mm-hmm.
Yep,
Okay, all right, thank you for explaining that. Appreciate it.
Thanks for the question.
Call for the vote?
Trent. Campbell. Wertz.
Yes.
Johnson.
Yes.
Rust. Griffin.
Yes.
Ware.
Yes.
Right. Under action items, we have the organization restructure.
Do I have a motion?
Second.
Discussion? Call for the vote, please.
Campbell. Ware.
Yes.
Wertz.
Yes.
Johnson.
Yes.
Rust.
Yes?
Trent. Griffin.
Yes. Next is our refreshed strategic plan.
Do I have a motion?
Motion.
Second?
Second.
Discussion?
Yeah, just a question, I guess. We've had a strategic plan now since August of 2021, so 2 years. Do we have have we seen any reporting about the results or, how we're doing against our strategic plan?
So at the retreat, I talked a little bit about some of the outcomes from last year, and that this year, we are now at a point where we're being able to establish some benchmarking. So this next year, so hypothetically, next May, when we do our State of Trailblazer Nation, again, that's going to be where we'll be able to say, hey, we increased against this benchmark, we increased against this benchmark, and all that's outlined in this strategic plan. So you all reaffirmed the plan last year because that initial year was kind of a loss because of the cyber incident, so we weren't able to make a whole lot of progress. We reset it last year, and then we presented those outcomes this last year in May, and then again in June, I introduced sort of this refresh that we've been working on the last month or so. So this year, you'll see underneath the measures where there are benchmarks and where we still don't have benchmarks because it might be a new initiative.
So when you say this year, you mean like?
Yeah, in May, when we did the State of Trailblazer Nation, we talked about those outcomes. We refreshed the strategic plan, presented that to the board at the retreat in early June, and now we're asking for the approval on it so we can work through those goals that we've set for this year. Next May, we'll provide an update of the outcomes of this last year, then we'll reassess as a leadership group and a strategic planning group to see where we need to perhaps shift, where we need to improve, or where we may be able to close some things out. Like, I'll give you a great example. Like, one of the measures is around our HLC work that we need to do. That's a 2-year process. So next year, we'll provide you an update of here's what we've done. We have 1 more year to present this to HLC. So hopefully that answers your question. So, sort of, right? Okay, all right.
It seems like though, like for aspiration 1, we could already report
Yeah,
something on that.
absolutely, yeah.
We don't have to wait till May.
Right, no. Well, what we're going to do as well is probably, I don't know, we're debating this, we're going to bring all the key KDs together, is maybe every 45 days to 2 months provide like a snapshot update. And this goes back to the sort of dashboards that we're trying to, so desperately get in order to where, yeah, I know.
The mysterious and elusive
The mysterious
dashboard.
and, yeah, and they're, yeah, so, but where you'll be able to see, hey, we set this goal and we're 85% to that goal. That's the aspiration personally and for all of us to be able to show that progress. And, again, this is an evolving document. I mean, as the year goes on, we may identify new opportunities that we want to take on next year, so we begin sort of keeping sort of a priority list of where we should invest in next year and look at what's working, what's not working, and ultimately hope to continue to be able to move things forward, so. But yeah, absolutely, we've started to make progress already, so.
Call for the vote, please.
Motion.
Wertz?
Yes.
Ware?
Yes.
Griffin?
Yes.
Campbell?
Yes.
Johnson?
Yes.
Rust?
Yes.
Trent?
Motion approved.
FY '24 budget.
Here we go.
Have a motion? Second?
Second.
Discussion? Call for the vote, please.
Campbell? Yes. Griffin?
Yes.
Ware?
Yes.
Wertz?
Yes.
Johnson?
Yes.
Rust?
Yes.
Trent?
Thank you.
Resolution 23-17, review of closed session minutes.
Do I have a motion?
Second.
Discussion? Call for the vote, please.
Trent? Yes. Griffin?
Yes.
Ware?
Yes.
Campbell? Yes. Wertz?
Yes.
Johnson?
Yes.
Rust?
Yes.
The employment contract with Dr. Traska.
Call for a motion?
I'll make the motion.
Second.
Discussion?
I just have a comment or discussion a little bit on this. This 21% proposed salary increase for Dr. Traska, to me, it's a slap in the face and an insult to the college's faculty, the staff, and the taxpayer. We've got 4 to 5 times the compensation increases that they are getting. And he is receiving 10 years of salary increases, plus the proposed contract provides guaranteed yearly increases, which means that the Board of Trustees is in effect abdicating its responsibility to perform annual performance reviews. On top of the salary increases, the college, which pays the full retirement system contribution for Dr. Traska, will pay an additional $4,000 a year to SERS. Plus, I'm fairly certain that the college will pay a significant penalty assessed by the state of Illinois because of this exorbitant salary increase. The Board of Trustees has no issue with Dr. Traska's performance, really. Chairman Wertz gave each of us a questionnaire, and each trustee rated his performance, Traska's performance, in 5 categories, answering 21 questions. Most responses, 51 of them responses, were, quote, exceeds some expectations. 45 responses were meets expectations, and 41 responses were significantly exceeds expectations. So the questionnaire results do not, in my opinion, justify an exorbitant salary increase for Dr. Traska. The proposed contract amendment in this motion matches exactly the demands that Dr. Traska made to the board, and apparently the implication is that he may resign if the board fails to meet his demands. This indicates, and I fear, that President Traska is losing his focus on the welfare of the students and his team and other stakeholders, and is becoming more focused on his ego and his pocketbook. If the board approves this contract amendment, it will represent the sort of oversight failure that is financially ruining the state of Illinois. I move for the tabling of this motion to amend Dr. Traska's contract.
I find it offensive that you're grandstanding in this way when we had an opportunity to discuss his contract and talked about the market and comparisons, and this is not the way to handle a situation like this. We had an opportunity to discuss this, an executive session, and now you want to come out here and ridicule and personally attack him over situations that were never, some of what you just said wasn't even true. He didn't demand anything.
Nate? Sir, could you use your microphone?
Okay. Oh, thank you. With respect to a motion to table, the procedure is such that discussion on a motion to table should occur only after a motion to table has been seconded and approved by a majority vote. There's not supposed to be a discussion before or during the process of the motion. However, a discussion had been already initiated before the motion to table had been made. So what I would recommend to the chair is that a vote on the motion, or actually strike that, the chair should ask for whether there is a second on the motion to table before we have any further discussion.
Do I have a second on the motion to table? Motion fails for lack of a second. I'd like to call for the vote.
Griffin,
Yes.
Ware,
Absolutely yes.
Campbell,
Yes.
Wertz,
Yes, sir.
Johnson,
No.
Rust,
No.
Trent.
Motion approved.
Approval of President Traska's travel.
Do I have a motion?
Motion.
Second.
Second.
Discussion? Call for the vote?
Campbell,
Yes.
Griffin,
Yes.
Ware,
Yes.
Wertz,
Yes.
Johnson,
Yes.
Rust,
Yes.
Trent.
Yes.
FY25 Resource Allocation Management Plan.
Do I have a motion?
Motion.
Second.
Second.
Discussion? Call for the vote, please.
Campbell,
Yes.
Trent,
Yes.
Griffin,
Yes.
Ware,
Yes.
Wertz,
Yes.
Johnson,
Yes.
Rust,
Yes.
License with Madison County Regional Office of Education 41.
Do I have a motion?
Motion.
Second.
Discussion? Call for the vote?
Campbell,
Yes.
Griffin,
Yes.
Ware,
Yes.
Wertz,
Yes.
Johnson,
Yes.
Rust,
Yes.
Trent.
Under information items, Dr. Traska, is there anything that you would like to highlight in the information items?
Not at all. If there's questions, I'm happy to entertain those. I know Lori wants to present the recognition report, and Chris Paul is available for an update on the main complex if needed.
Yeah, and I've asked Sharice to do that on my behalf in the room tonight. Thank you.
Thanks.
Hello again. We just want to recognize some of our team members for some of their great efforts going over and beyond. The first one is I just want to take a minute on behalf of the library to say thanks to all of the folks who are helping put things back together. It's a long process and we still have a lot of work to do, but these are exciting times for us. High-end food vending, coffee, hot cold beverages, maker spaces, electronic gaming, collaborative furniture, programming, social media outreach, indoor law games, more to come on this later. So thanks to Cody Zipman, Corey Zipman, Mike Edwards, Sam Stoner, Jason Quigley, Wolf Verka, for our maintenance team for your sweat equity, and thanks to Lori Arters and Chris Palda for the opportunity to serve as a food hub in the main complex starting this fall. And lastly, thanks to our library staff, Greg Cash, Liz Burns, Haley Disterhoff, and Julie Akio for your enthusiasm and ideas, exciting times for the library, and much appreciated. Kudos and job well done to the Human Resources team. Recently, the team led by HR Director Gabe Springer and Manager of Team and Talent Relations Laura Fallon completely revamped the orientation onboarding process to better familiarize new team members at Lewis and Clark with the campus and the resources available. Additionally, with the help of our marketing and PR department, they have also recently launched a welcome newsletter introducing all new team members to the campus. The newsletter features photos and bios on our new team members, which not only welcomes them to the campus, but helps our current team members become immediately familiar with the newest trailblazers on campus. All of these efforts could not have been completed without the amazing Human Resources team and work from Human Resources Assistant Catherine Stoner, Onboarding Specialist Amanda Mitchell, Human Resources Coordinator Debbie Lovell, and Business Specialist Kim Clausen. Great work to our team on helping solidify the team and family culture at Lewis and Clark for our newest members, and special thanks to Laura Fallon for leading this latest effort that supports our strategic plan. Keep up the great work, Trailblazers.
Thank you, Shreese. I don't know if Chris is here, but I know the update she's going to provide would be very much in line with what we sent to you recently. And then I was going to save this for my report, but tomorrow we have a walkthrough. Donna is walking through myself with the architects just to get a little bit more of an orientation of the project. And then we also meet with Hastings and Chavetta tomorrow to kind of begin thinking a little bit more about how do we get that budget reduced a little bit. And we've also shared this all with the team on campus, so everyone's always in tune with what's happening. So I don't know if Chris is available or she's
Hi, Dr.
she's up there.
Traska.
Oh,
I'm on
hi.
Zoom.
Okay.
Yes, just to follow up with what you had already mentioned, the program analysis has been submitted and reviewed by CDB, and their feedback was mostly focused on the budget, which we know needs some work. The architects actually need to provide an answer to CDB next week about some of our approaches of how we're going to bring the budget into line with the funding available. Next will be the schematic design. That will take about 3.5 months to complete, and then will be submitted for CDB's review again. CDB reviews take about 5 weeks.
I have a question. Is the architect's fee based on the total cost of the project?
It is based on the scale of the project. So with this project, the entire contract is not complete initially until they get a better idea of what level of work is going to be involved. And then there are fees based upon that type of work.
Okay, I didn't really get that. It's like, how do they get paid? In other words, is there a benefit for them having a $62 million project as opposed to $52 million? I have no idea, just wondering how that works.
No, it's based upon the type of and scope of the project and not just the dollar amount.
It sounded like from the write-up on the agenda that you are trying, the goal is to get it back down, right?
The one factor that I would lobby for with the board to consider is the roof. You know, the roof is the one piece of the project that wasn't factored in before, because you have to think the initial attempt to get this money, what are we at, 6 years now, 7 years now? So at that point, there was no need. And so now with this project probably beginning in the next year or so, there was a assessment saying, hey, if you're going to do this, you might as well do the roof as well, and that's where that additional like $4 million came into play. Everything else, we're going to try to kind of reduce it. We're looking at the phasing factor. We're looking at where they have kind of a major renovation, a mid-level, and a minor renovation. Maybe we put off some of that minor stuff and then come back to it later. The argument there, though, is if we come back to it in a couple of years, perhaps after the project's complete, the cost will maybe be double of what it is now. So there's going to be some, I think, balancing that we're going to have to do and get pretty close, if not to that point that we really want to be at. So, and then of course inflation. So I don't know, Donna, go ahead.
So is the architect contracted by phase?
They're contracted for the whole project, and and it's through, and the Capital Development Board manages the project. So we actually don't manage the project. That's because it's state money. Perhaps we could argue that's why it takes so long to get from one step to the next step.
So when we say they're contracted for the entire project, is that through the completion of construction documents or all the way through construction administration?
All the way through. I'm fairly certain. Correct me if I'm wrong, Chris, but am I wrong on that?
No, it would be through the
Right.
project as well.
And then in their contract, are they required to design to a budget?
That's a good question. Yes, I think so. I'm 90% sure. Designed to a budget, because the budget's $50 million.
So any design work that they do in order to get back to a budget should be free of charge.
Yeah.
That's important.
Take that
And
up
then
with CDB. Yeah.
I would also like to better understand Julie's question,
Yeah.
where if we're saying that we have contracted them for the entire scope of the project.
Right.
Typically, it's based on a percentage of that
Right.
budget amount. So I'm not fully understanding basing it on scope.
I think the argument is that you obviously are way better at this in terms of your background, but the scope will ultimately determine the budget. So we want to be within a $50 million budget. So that fee is going to be based on $50 million.
And it's at a percent then.
Right. Is that correct, Chris?
Typically is.
Hello?
Should be.
Yeah, it just doesn't. seem-
Sorry, I'm muted. I don't have the language in front of me to explain it better, but I can certainly share that information when I'm in my office tomorrow,
Yeah.
just to get a better explanation.
Yeah.
It doesn't seem appropriate for them to expand the project by $10 million. I don't know, that's what.
No.
Well, they can't.
Right.
And that's where the language in the contract is really critical.
Yeah. Perhaps tomorrow we'll get some additional answers. We can talk to them. And Chris, can we bring that language again with us tomorrow too, in terms of the percentage?
Yes. I did want to say that I think how I feel that they approach this, and I agree with what Donna said, as they help us come back in line with the budget, that is not an additional cost to the project. But with their evaluation, with all the focus groups, the mover teams, the executive group, everybody on campus, the community, I feel that they brought to us all of that information, and it was for us to help direct where we would want to cut back. So I feel that all the information brought us to that budget of 62.1 million, and it is under our direction to decide what needs to be removed to get down to that budget.
And that's in part what our meeting tomorrow is. Other questions? Is that? No? Okay.
Anything else? This meeting is adjourned.